Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new process video and I'm working on photos from Milwaukee, so I'm still in that album. And on this side I have a 6x8 pocket page. On this side I have a 3x8, but it has a 2x8 pocket down here, or sorry, 2x8. 2x3 pocket down here. It's early in the day, can you tell? And I plan to use sequins there. And the trick with this is, even though these photos don't necessarily go together, this is a totally different genre than this. This is work by Dale Chihuly, a very famous glass artist. His complex is based out of Seattle. And this was, if I'm honest, the real reason for going to the museum is I knew they had a Chihuly there that I hadn't seen, and so I wanted to go see it, which I did. But given that these two are next to each other, I do want them to feel as if they match a little bit. And this photo worked for that. Very similar colors to what's in here to what's in here. So I will figure out how to match that once I pull out all my sequins. The other thing to keep in mind though when doing a sequins page is it kind of has to match what's on the other side because it's going to show through. So this is the photo I have on the other side. Now, the only color it really has in there that matches is blue. This is gold, but it's very different from like this kind of yellowy gold. But I think it'll be close enough. It'll be fine as long as I have a good amount of blue in there. I will probably also have some gold or yellow in there, and then I kind of like this orangey red as well, and I don't know off the top of my head if I have any sequins that are that color, so I'm not quite sure about that, but I can also always put in white or clear sequins to add some dimension. That's just a trick anybody can use, where if you're struggling for another color, that's always a safe way to go. The first order of business is finding a card for this pocket. It has to be something that goes with all of this. It's very busy, but probably tones it down a little bit. So perhaps black and white. I would love maybe something in blue, but I don't remember what's all in my art and museum stuff. So I have phrase labels of all kinds. These are more geared a little bit more towards history and architecture. These are a mix of things. So some are specific to art museums, some talk more about history and archaeology, Egyptology, things like that, ancient ruins. And then I have cards here. These are more history based as well, but I would consider them if something in there worked. And then these are the only ones I have printed that are specific to art. I have more in the set that I could print. I've used some already, so I certainly could print more out of that set, but I'd like to use one that's already printed first if I can. Just, you know, sometimes it's okay to be a little lazy, and I'd love to use something pre-printed if it works. Of the cards that I had printed, this was the one that fit the best of the options, but I still don't like it. I'm not crazy about these numbers here and what I would do with them on this layout, so I'm not going to use that. And I went into my digital files to look at, oh, there are other cards from that set I could print or from other sets. I really didn't find anything that I thought would fit with this. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to build my own. And I realized I do want journaling here because this is a Chihuly and I want to talk about why I was prompted to go to the museum. So I need some journaling space. So I'll probably have to find a card that either has lines or some open white space so I can journal. And then I will just have to put some somewhat art-related embellishments on it, I think. So I'm going to do that next. My heat tool has been heating up the whole time. So the fuse is ready for when I want to do sequins. I'm just not quite there yet. Got to find that card first. I have found a card in my regular stash, and it's not at all what I thought I would end up picking, but this is the one I'm going with. And I like it because of the different shades of blue on it, and that it has the floating hearts, because I do love this. Chihuly is my favorite living artist. I'm motivated in any new city I go to find out, does their art museum or botanical garden or something, does it have a Chihuly piece? So I felt like it was fitting. I do think though, just to journal here, it would be too blank. So I'm going to, I think, look at my museum embellishment type stuff and my stamps to see, could I stamp something and just fussy cut it and add it to this somehow? I'm not sure, but I'm willing to entertain that thought. But at least I have the card picked out color-wise, so then I can start working on my sequins. I have pulled out my sequins here, and I have red and yellow are part of what's in here, orange to blue in here, and then my clear and white are in here. So between all of those, I think I should be able to come up with a mix that's going to work here. And I'm almost wondering if it's going to end up being more orange than yellow, just because I did a preliminary look just kind of to see what I have. Like, this is not necessarily the right yellow, but I do have this darker orange, which I'm kind of digging. I don't know how it'll work. I'll have to start mixing some things. I have regular gold as well, but that's not really what I want. So I'm just gonna open these up, see what I can put together, and hope that it turns out well. In picking out some sequins, I realized all the red ones I have are fairly dark. I think I need to invest in a lighter shade of red, or kind of a reddish orange even, to lighten it up a little bit. I'm gonna have to go with these. I think I had these or a disc shape, and I like them both, but the blue I want is also a disc shape, so I don't want to have two of those. So I'm going with a more standard type sequins for the red, and then this is the blue. Then I have to go into those yellows and oranges to figure out what do I have there that might mix okay with this. And of course, a clear. I think I'm going to have to, just because this background is so white. I need to bring that in as well. I'm looking at some other sequins. I do have these yellow ones that are a little bit lighter. I kind of forgot that I had those. I don't think they would look necessarily bad here, but I'm not sure I like them when I see it next to this. I'm gonna hold off on those. I did put in some clear ones here. I'm thinking about these orange ones. I put them on the photos just to see. I really like the match with this. It's not as great of a match here when you see it against all of this. Now, if I move it down into the colors, not as bad. I may put some in there just to kind of match more with this. I think it would be fine. I don't know that it would be that distracting, but I'm not 100% happy with it. And when things like this happen, it shows me, oh, I probably need to step up my sequin game a little bit. I need to do some colors that are sort of in between the shades I have. So I just make notes when that happens, and then when I do my next order, hopefully I'll be able to find that list, and then I can order what I need. I did end up putting in both of these, more so of the orange, and then I dropped in just a quick shake of these just to add a little extra burst of color because it really felt too dark. It's still quite dark, but I'm happier now that I have just a few little lighter things in there, and I think that's good. That's probably enough, if not a little too much, to fit in here, so I may end up putting some back, but I'm at least happy with the mix. So now I can get out all of my tools and get that done. So I did end up having more than I needed, so I'll end up having to separate those and put them back, which is kind of a tedious task, but it's fine because I like the mix I got, so it makes it worth it. So I have them in there, and then I just have to get this lined up where I want it to the top of the pocket. It's a little hard to see here. There we go. There's the edge. So I'm gonna go about there, I think, and then I've got my fuse tool here heated, ready to go. It's always best to heat about 20 minutes. All right, and I'm just going to roll it gently along the side at a slight angle. Straight up and down generally does not work the best. You need a little bit of an angle there. And then the true test, I always shake it when I'm done to make sure I have a good seal. I can kind of see that it's sealed well, but the shake is the true test. So there we go. Great seal, everything's in there, and now that part is done. So this is how it'll look on this side, and then that's how it'll look on that side. And in seeing it, I wish now that I had put more orange in there. There's not a lot showing, but that's okay. It's done now. I'm not gonna open it up or start over and do another one, so it'll be fine. Let's see how it looks next to these. You know what, actually, when I see them all together, I think it looks fine. There's a lot of this color happening actually in all of these photos, so I don't know that I needed a ton of it here, so woo, okay. So I'm happy with that. So now all I have to do is probably just put on some phrase labels somewhere and then figure out what am I doing with the rest of this card. In trying to figure out what to do with this card, I think I'm going to use something from this sheet of punch outs here from LA Studio, and I want to use the one that says happy. It's in red, which is great. It matches with what I have, and it definitely made me happy to go and find this piece at the museum. So I think I'll probably just either center it here, maybe a little off to the right, but it brings in some of the red that I have going, and it leaves me room for journaling still because I'm not overlapping anything. I'm not sure that that's enough. I feel like it just needs something else to be a little more dynamic, but I'm not sure what that is. I'm actually considering maybe like, do I want a little strip of washi here that matches, and then this could overlay that on top. So I'm going to take both of these, the card and this piece, over to my washi bin and see what I can find. I pulled these two washi tapes because I like the color. They're very similar. This one's a little lighter, but they're similar. And they have patterns, but they're subtle. I don't mind a funky pattern given how funky this is, but I don't want it to be overwhelming because there's already a pattern on the card. And in looking at these, I feel like I'm probably gonna go with this one simply because it's more narrow. This is quite wide. This is already a chunky box, and so then to put another thick washi on top of it makes it feel maybe a little clunky or something to me, so I think I'm gonna go with the narrow option. Have put together the card, and so I just did a little strip there, and I actually had a little bit left more than I needed, so I just folded it over the back, and then I adhered this on top. And I have to say, this was a bugger to get started. I don't know if I had never used this or it's just really hard to tear. Some rolls are like that, but when that happens, this is my little cheat. I just fold down the end a little bit so that the next time I go to use it, hopefully it'll peel better, because otherwise it just, I mean, look at this. It like came off in pieces to get it started. It was quite difficult, and I don't want to go through that again, so I'm using this trick. For this photo, I actually found this little chevron in another stack of those punch outs that I had. So it matches perfectly, which is great, even though it was from a different set. So I used that one, kept it simple. Over here, though, I haven't been able to find anything else I like in red. And I felt like maybe if it was a little too close to this, it might clash. But I did find this from one of the punch out sheets as well. It just says picture perfect. It's gray, it's neutral. Now the background is gray, but I think it shows up enough. And I can put staples in at the sides. I did choose to add one here, so that'll make it feel like it's a little more together. So I can add that, and then this is probably done. I did adhere that and added the mini staples, and I think that's all this one takes. So here's another one finished for Milwaukee. Thanks for watching.